It's Tuesday, the 8th of May, 2018, and this is your EV News Daily. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you're listening around the world, a very warm welcome from London in the UK. A record-breaking welcome. In fact, yesterday was officially the hottest day ever here in the UK on the early May bank holiday, as we call it. Mid-20s in some parts of the UK yesterday, but all that global warming, no, according to Trump, who studied it for literally several minutes, doesn't exist. Well, here is today's news about electric cars and the future of transport. My name is Martin Lee, and I go through every EV article online so you don't have to. Well, first of all, hi to another person with the initials ML, same as myself, who I know was involved over the weekend in a crash, or a wreck, as you say, in the USA yesterday. I follow him on Twitter, and he often retweets, my updates on EVs. And so I follow what he has to say. Himself, he has a lovely Model X, or rather, he had a lovely Model X until he posted some pictures of his Model X in a wreck, and it was alongside a Range Rover. Now, I won't say his name, as I haven't asked him. Also, I can see on Twitter, he says he's fine, nobody hurt. Obviously, that's the most important thing. But I respect his privacy, so I don't want to say anything to identify him, so I'm not going to say his name on here or anything, but the Range Rover in the picture came off a lot worse than the Model X, by the way. But I only mention this in case you're wondering. That's a morbid start. It's a strange start to the podcast. From the pictures that he posted, 4 pictures online, I can pick out all the airbags which fired off in the Model X. And it's noticeable from the ones which fire down the insides of the windows. They're the ones that stop any glass ingress into the cabin if it shatters. Now, a reminder, the Model X has 12 airbags, head and knee airbags in the front, 2 side curtain airbags, which are the ones which were really noticeable in his pictures, 4 seat-mounted side airbags, and 2 door-mounted airbags. It's a very safe place to be. Obviously terrifying to be in that situation. He seems okay on Twitter. I hope he is all fine. Cars can be replaced under the insurance, and by the look of it, from all the pictures he put of the inside of his Model X, so many airbags keep you really well cosseted, if that's the right word, as you're having an accident, looked after, I should say. Well, coming up on the show today, we'll talk about the Tesla solar roof patents which have been noticed online, and a battery shortage has interrupted Hyundai sales. But first of all, Elon Musk's recent email to staff said, "I've been disappointed to discover how many contractor companies are interwoven throughout Tesla. Often, it's like a Russian nesting doll of contractor, subcontractor, sub-subcontractor, etc., before you finally find someone doing some actual work." End quote. Well, now, according to Digital Trends, Musk's original email gave contractors a week in order to prove their worth to the company, and he has since extended that deadline. However, he's also requiring that any contractors have a Tesla employee willing to vouch for them, or else they'll be denied access. Well, Musk's requirement that Tesla employees put their reputation on the line will likely make it very difficult, says this article, for the majority of contractors to obtain recommendations. After all, his email seems to imply that if a contractor's performance is deemed unsatisfactory, well, then it could impact the job of the employee who vouched for it. Well, the full email from Elon is over the weekend, was noticed by Electrek, and it reads this, and I quote, "Please send a note to HR before Monday, justifying the excellence, necessity, and trustworthiness by individual, not just the contractor company, as a whole, of every non-Tesla person who has badge access to our buildings or network access to our systems. By default, anyone who does not have a Tesla employee putting their reputation on the line for them will be denied access to our facilities and networks on Monday morning," which was yesterday. Well, this applies worldwide. The barnacles are a reference to Tesla's contractors, an analogy that Elon Musk first used publicly in that earnings call last week. Now Tesla employees are being asked to put their own careers on the line to justify an external contractor. Wow! He's getting serious now, right? Okay, so we love a bit of solar chat, and on inverse.com, they've been talking about the Tesla solar roof. So why does the Tesla solar roof look just like a normal roof? How do they do that? How do they not look like those traditional solar panels that you've all seen? Well, Inverse report that one of the most fascinating aspects of the solar roof, which started reaching homes earlier in 2018, is that it looks like an ordinary roof. The design actually hides the advanced energy harvesting cells wired to the home battery. And a new patent application published last week by the United States Patent and Trademark Office sheds a bit more light on how the company pulled off the technical feat. Well, Inverse continues that Louvers, that's the word, inside the tiles actually act a bit like blinds do in a window. Okay, so the light hitting the roof from the sky can pass through, but from street level, the louvers block the sight of the cells, and that's what makes the tiles appear smooth. They do look gorgeous, by the way. And if I was redoing a roof, I'd love to use them. I mean, there's a backlog. I'm not in California. I'm not even in the USA. There'd be no chance. But if we were redoing the roof here, well, they would absolutely be on my shopping list. Well, on Twitter, a chap called Matthew Kolosky, he's a Tesla fan, by the way, Matt K926 is on Twitter, and he said that he noticed that Tesla had registered 5,009 Model 3 VINs. The highest VIN is 39263. Well, Simon over at Teslarati pointed out that interacting with members of the subreddit /Tesla Motors community, Kolosky noted that none of the new VINs actually represented the dual motor, the all-wheel drive variants of the Model 3. Well, over the course of the past few months, Tesla's VIN registrations have been increasing in number. 2 weeks ago, they registered about the same amount, 5,170 Model 3 VINs, one of the largest batches we've seen, actually. With that in mind, production rate of 3,000 to 4,000 Model 3s per week seems feasible, says Teslarati. And our final Tesla story today, I've pulled back on a bit of Tesla because last week it was super Musk with all of the news, and so I thought there's loads of other stuff going on, but just catching up with what's been happening in Fremont. The final story that Bloomberg have picked up on: Elon Musk bought about $9.85 million worth of Tesla shares on Monday, his biggest purchase since March a year ago in 2017. According to a regulatory filing, Elon Musk, already Tesla's biggest shareholder, is increasing that stake, with it now almost 20% of the company. Now, Elon's also been taunting those who have been betting against Tesla on Twitter, and he said this, and I quote, "The sheer magnitude of short carnage will be unreal. If you're short, I suggest tiptoeing quietly to the exit." End quote. All right, let's move on. And let's move on to Opel. Now, Sarah Timmermans is the CEO of Opel in Belgium, and she's been talking about the future of Opel. Now it's owned by PSA Group. In a conversation with Fleet Europe, she outlined the challenges electric cars are going to bring the company. And she said this, and I quote, "We have announced to all our dealers across Europe that we need to change our way to market, that both we and our dealers need to adapt to the changing customer behaviour and to the changing landscape disruptions such as electric vehicles. We have clearly indicated that we are entirely technology neutral. Everybody knows that we need to come down to 95 grams of CO2 by the year 2020. That's a European law, by the way, a ruling. It's the fleet of an entire manufacturer needs to hit that target." And I continue her quote, "This is going to require a mix of powertrains. We are working on electric vehicles, hybrids, hydrogen, along with petrol and diesel in their most ecological versions. Opel Vauxhall will have 4 electrified car lines on the market by 2020, including the Grandland X plug-in hybrid and the next-gen Corsa that will also be available as a full BEV. On top of this," she says, "every new passenger car line in Europe will be an electrified option." That's a BEV or a hybrid version alongside a combustion engine, end quote. Well, things aren't going so well for Hyundai at the moment, where demand is outstripping supply. Orders for the Ioniq Electric in Canada are currently on hold due to a global shortage of batteries. A leaked memo to Hyundai dealers titled 18, I guess that means 2018, 18 model year Ioniq EV short-term production shortage. And it said this: due to a temporary global battery supply shortage, the sold order entry system, for the 18 model year Ioniq EV, will be closed effective immediately. And the 19 model year Ioniq EV will be opened at the same time to allow pre-sales of the 2019 model year Ioniq EV. Deliveries begin July. End quote. That's the memo. So according to Green Car Reports, it all comes at a time just before Hyundai were scheduled to release the long-range Ioniq Electric. Now, we've been talking about it for a while, but we've been lacking some specs. We do know it's coming with a bigger battery. We don't know what size. Some people slate it at 200 miles or more on a charge. The current Hyundai Ioniq does about 124 miles official range, but it's so super efficient. It goes a long way on a small battery. Well, further, Hyundai Motor America, says Green Car Reports, spoke to a spokesman and allowed that the battery shortage may affect production of the upcoming Kona as well, expected to go on sale towards the end of this year. Of course, that with the long-range 64 kilowatt-hour battery pack rated at 238 miles of range. Well, that's about batteries, but how about charging them? Well, Whole Foods have announced a partnership with electric vehicle charging company Blink to begin installing the EV charge points at its US stores, starting with 3 in Pennsylvania, says Auto Guide. Blink charging stations can be located, says this report, using the company's smartphone app. Now, the app can also relay information on charge point statuses, thanks to their cloud-based network. And the charging stations are now open at Whole Foods locations in Lancaster, Springhouse, and Exton, Pennsylvania. And finally, something I found on the Hyundai Ioniq forum, full of enormously knowledgeable people. The Hyundai Kona and the Kia Niro are very similar, but also quite different. Well, these two cars, says this quote, have the same battery capacity, the same battery pack case, the same motor, the same electronics. And that's what led me on a recent podcast to say, I reckon they have the same LG Chem cells. There's just the Korean sister companies have just put a big order in for them. But it seems the two cars have very different battery cells. And this one passed me by. So a correction on this. The Kona, the Hyundai Kona, has LG Chem cells, the NCM 622 cells. They're optimized for density, right? Whereas the Kia Niro has the MCM 811 cells from SK Innovation. Now, they're optimized more for energy density, not power density. Therefore, the Niro, right, the Kia Niro, it's a family car, it's bigger, more comfortable, but the acceleration through the BMS is going to be less than the Kona. Now, the Kona EV cells allow for more high-powered driving. Its body is slightly smaller. Its agility is excellent, says this quote, and it's an advantage for sportier driving. Now, in the end, it is analysed that the Kia Niro EV is beneficial to achieve stable driving performance, says this, whereas the Kona has advantages for more high-power situations. So now you know. Well, I would love to spread the word about electric cars. If you can, help me out and share the podcast with somebody who might be interested. Listen to every previous one on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHearts, radio, podcasts, and the blog, evnewsdaily.com. If you want to subscribe, you can do. It means you haven't got to think about it. Plus, you get it first and free and automatically. And it would mean a lot if you could leave a little rate and review on any of those platforms. Say hi on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.